Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
So this is another anthology movie?
Yep.
And like a few of them, this was supposed to turn into a series?
For Showtime, yep.
Would you have watched?
Oh, 100%.
All this and more on Gory Storytime.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig, and this week we're doing the movie Body Bags. Yes. He hadn't seen this. I had this on a VHS when I was a kid because I watched it a lot.
It took me long enough.
I think your grandmother hated this movie because she would walk in probably once a month and be like, "Oh, you're watching that again?"
I get it.
It was just so good. But we like anthology movies. For those who aren't sure what that is, it's when they put 3 short stories or
3, 4, 5. It depends.
Depending.
But
like Creep Show had a bunch of different stories, and
Cat's Eye.
Cat's Eye had
Last week we did the Dead Time stories. That was one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go back and watch that episode
and
of that movie.
We're huge fans.
And secondly, we're also huge fans of
John Carpenter. I mean, yeah, and it was made for Showtime, but we'll get into those facts and stuff.
It doesn't really show that this was supposed to be a TV movie.
No, it definitely seems like they did a good job of.
I could see myself going and seeing this in the theater.
Sure, absolutely,
100%.
Absolutely. But anyway, the basic premise is John Carpenter himself plays he comes out. He's like a morgue worker, I guess.
Yeah.
And he unzips a body bag, shows you a messed up looking body or something about it, and says, "I'm going to tell you the story of how this happened." And he did that 3 times in this movie, basically. He was just the wraparound character that told the story, which they usually have in those kind of films.
Friggin' all of them. Tony Todd was in that other one.
VHS... After the first one didn't really have a connecting thing. The first one
it was just here's things.
Yeah. Here's things that happened all on VHS. Anyway, also a good one if you haven't seen it. Anything else? That's basically it. He tells 3 stories.
All right.
He tells 3 stories about 3 dead bodies.
Before we go ahead and rip it apart or whatever we're about to do, it's on Tubi, it's on Pluto, it's on
and we're being paid by none of those.
It's on basically if you have one of the free apps or have Amazon apparently, it's everywhere. They just want you to see this, and so do I. Watch this before we talk about it.
Anyway, how about the trailer so we can let them see a little bit of what we're actually talking about?
From John Carpenter. Something's coming.
Maybe I'll see you around, huh?
I see things.
I think maybe I can help you.
Something strange.
Weird.
Gruesome.
Painful. Sexy.
Yes, yes!
When can we do it? Something shocking.
Your brains are the only food on which we can thrive.
What have you done to me? Something terrifying. finish digging your grave. John Carpenter presents Body Bags.
Showed him at all.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was a good trailer.
That was a really good trailer. I think showing him would have been okay, too.
It would have been okay, but here and there.
All right. Now, before we get into our behind-the-scenes information, we have to do something that,
pays the bills.
Pays all the bills. Oh, yes.
Keeps the lights on and stuff.
He certainly doesn't work full-time at a grocery store to pay the bills because we make so much money off of our 5, 6, 7 views and plus 30 over on Facts.
Yeah, we're
channel.
Actually making money on there.
Anyway, the way we actually make money is we sell ourselves out like prostitutes, and we tell you that products that are available are awesome, whether or not they are, and then they send us big checks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big giant checks for
big
like
giant
$5
checks,
a
the
piece.
foam ones.
Yeah.
For example, this week, Gory Story Time is brought to you by Graveyard Shift Temps, aka GST Employment Services. GST Employment Services is your best bet for finding a great candidate for your creepy job. You need someone to man your gas station in the middle of nowhere, late night till morning light? Or maybe your cemetery needs a night watchman. Whatever your creepy-ass job is, we have plenty of disposable 20-somethings ready to go. GST Employment Services. Do you need bodies? Because we got them.
Very nice. And by Spare Parts Inc., the world's best body part replacement specialists. Spare Parts Inc. provides human limbs, organs, and even hair for your replacement needs. In America, we have 27 states holding 2,400 inmates on death row. That's thousands of parts just going to waste. By collecting these parts, we save you money on surgeries and save the taxes it normally costs to bury these folks because that is deferred by your purchase price. Spare Parts Inc., making the worthless worthwhile.
Absolutely. All right.
That's a great one.
Slightly offensive.
Pretty offensive, but
then again, if you're on death row, you've probably done something worse than whatever level of offense.
Yeah. Be offended if you're on death row. I get that.
All right. So, is there anything else you want to talk about before we get into the behind-the-scenes information?
Again, I just said watch it.
Yeah, definitely. This is a good one in our opinion. You want to go first? You want me to?
You can go first.
All right. This film... Oh, sorry. This is when we get into the behind-the-scenes information, or as Jason likes to call it, the meat and beef of the show.
Or as I like to call it, the meat and beef of the show. All right, now.
I almost didn't do the catchphrase thing.
That was super easy.
That was barely an inconvenience.
Yeah.
That's not ours, though.
Wow.
This film features many great horror directors who act and or direct. John Carpenter's in it. Toby Hooper, Wes Craven, Sam Raimi, Roger Corman. And if you know horror movies, you should know
these names.
All of those. Hell, if you know Spider-Man movies, you know Sam Raimi.
Heck, yeah. There's that. John Carpenter spent 3 hours in the makeup chair for the role as the coroner. Oh, that's what we could call him. The coroner.
Well, that was his character.
I didn't even think about that.
That makes sense. In the gas station story... As Bill is watching TV, an anchorman mentions a body was found in Haddonfield, which is a reference to John Carpenter's film Halloween.
And yes, I noticed.
You noticed it immediately. You're like, "Oh, is this connected?" It's like, well, it's John Carpenter,
it's in the same world at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
4 was made as the pilot episode for a proposed anthology series to air on Showtime, but Showtime pulled the plug.
They were wrong.
Thumbs down.
They basically wanted to compete with Tales from the Crypt.
And it would have.
Like, I love that show, but I would have loved this show too. Like, it had the
would have
horror
been up
and
there.
the humor. It worked.
It would have worked.
It would have, yeah. Clive Barker was also asked to play a role, but had to decline because he was too busy at the time, unfortunately. But this just shows you the caliber of people they would have got in for future episodes.
Exactly. Peter Jason drove his own car in the segment The Gas Station. 2
of the actresses in the segment Hair are musicians turned actresses. Debbie Harry from the group Blondie,
Yeah,
who,
you
by the
mentioned
way,
that.
was the first white rapper officially like promoted by like a known rapper, and that was in the early 80s. She actually did a rap song.
Wow.
Yeah. And pop singer Sheena Easton, who was one of the proteges of Prince.
Yeah. Each tale is, of course, horror, but they all have different aspects of the genre. The Gas Station is a slasher, Hair is a black comedy, and I, a psychological thriller. The wraparound called The Morgue is also a black comedy, but it's also just kind of like the Crypt Keeper has his thing, and the Devil has his thing. The Coroner's got his thing.
Yeah. Let's see. The scene where Stacy Keach unwraps his long hair in front of the mirror was done in one take.
The Buxom Woman.
That's a nice way to put it.
Is that in the morgue? Was provided by Ron Jeremy?
Yeah.
What's buxom supposed to mean?
Large-chested.
Oh!
That,
okay.
That's what buxom means.
I remember you told me about that earlier, and this word doesn't mean that to me.
Well, that's...
Alright. Whatever.
They were looking for someone to go right for the jugular. Anyway.
Yeah.
The segment, The Gas Station, was shot completely at night, which makes sense because it took place at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was genuinely dark out.
Like, there's filters, but they never look quite right,
No.
you know?
John Carpenter's ominous score for The Gas Station is similar to the score for his film Prince of Darkness that also featured the actor Peter Jason.
The gas station, named Mobico, is a reference to John Carpenter's film Christine. That was the name of a gas station he had in that. Yeah.
Another horror icon, Greg Nicotero, seen walking a dog in the segment Hair.
Producer Sandy King, a.k.a. his wife, Carpenter's wife, acquired 2 actors from the movie The Long Riders for her husband, John, to work with. Robert Carradine and Stacy Keach. Peter Jason was also in that movie, but he had already worked with John, so like she didn't have to talk him into it.
Debbie Harry, who plays the nurse in the segment Hair, also appeared in the horror anthology Tales from the Dark Side. Which,
also good. A good movie, a good series. I've got the series box set, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This was the first television film credit for pop singer Sheena Easton.
In 1977, Mark Hamill was in a near-fatal car wreck, which fractured his nose, right eye socket, and cheekbone. In the film, he loses his right eye in a car wreck.
And some people were like, oh, it was kind of based on that. It's like, no. They had the story, and this was the final acting role of Sean McClory.
Robert Carradine and Mark Hamill had both starred in Lee Marvin, with Lee Marvin in The Big Red One.
Yeah.
And
which I know you're assuming it is not about
Mars.
I was gonna say
Clifford?
Red Rocket. Like
a dog.
Yeah, whatever. I was gonna make a dog lipstick joke.
Yeah. I'm glad that didn't happen.
Good. Yeah, that might offend one of the 3 people that watches this.
Me. Yeah, no thanks. Also, Rotten Tomatoes exists.
Yes. So, again, for those who are new, Rotten Tomatoes' basic premise is we take all of the professional reviewers' scores, the professional critics, and we just boil it down to was it positive or negative, and we give you a percentage of positive scores. So whatever that score is isn't really supposed to be based on is it a good movie or not. It's just they're saying, hey, you know, this percent of critics liked it. But there's a lot of critics out there that like things that I find garbage and hate things that I love. Yeah, right. And plenty of them.
It's a TV movie. Not a lot of critics are watching those.
Not movie critics, you know what I mean? But
sometimes. So 67% of the 12 reviews.
Yeah. And for some reason, usually the people have it higher than the critics when it comes to horror or comedy, and this has both.
This has both.
Like the wraparound and one of the stories were laugh out loud at spots. Legitimately laugh out loud. But for some reason, the dumb people that went to this website and voted have it at 39% positive. Well, those 39% were smart. It's the,
it's the overwhelming
it's the
majority.
61% that were just wrong.
It's like
if you are a fan of horror comedy and you watch this and you say it's not good, you're not a fan of horror comedy. You can't be.
No.
Because
this is like the definitive horror comedy.
Like, this is right there.
It's
it's early 90s, but let's not pretend.
Which explains
it's very
the
much
critics.
an 80s horror movie.
But it explains the critics being so low.
Sure. But that's at least comedy. That's at least fresh.
Passing, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else before we get to... No. Okay.
No?
All right. Now we're going to talk about our favorite and least favorite scenes. Usually we go with the thing...
That's more difficult.
Yeah, that's more difficult because, like, if we like a movie, finding something to pick apart is usually harder, and finding something good about a bad movie is not easy sometimes.
Not always easy, right?
But this is a good movie to me. So
this is a pretty good movie.
Why don't you start with your least favorite thing? And I already know what it's going to be.
So, spoilers ahead. If you don't want spoilers, close your ears. But right at the very end of the movie, there's a twist where you find out that he's been dead the whole time. All right, like Bruce Willis. And
the mortician.
The coroner.
Or coroner, sorry.
And that he's dead. He lays down onto a table, zips up into a body bag, and some people come and rip him apart. Great stuff. That
kind of gives that away.
100% gives it away. You are not supposed to know until the last 35 seconds of the movie that he's dead.
Except.
And then this.
Except. I purchased this VHS cassette, had that as the cover, and when I watched it for the first time, because I think someone gave it to me. But when I looked at the cover and watched the movie, at no point did I go, I bet he's dead. Because
either way, it feels like a spoiler.
It feels like it after you've seen it. It doesn't feel like it beforehand. But I can see your point.
I don't like it.
He doesn't like it because it feels spoiler.
I also love this movie, so shut up, all right? I couldn't find something.
Yeah, there's that. Did you just tell our audience to shut up? We barely have an audience.
I told you to shut up. They heard. They know what I did.
Sure. My least favorite thing, I guess, would probably be knowing that it was supposed to be a series. They didn't do it. Like, how did Showtime see this? Know that HBO was kicking butt over there with their friggin' show that was an anthology horror comedy.
They were.
And they had something that had just as much magic. It didn't have the nostalgia. It didn't have the nostalgia of the comic, but you didn't need it.
No, because you got the nostalgia of you're watching John Carpenter. All right, sit back and relax. All right, this is gonna be good.
When Wes Craven just walks up to get the keys to the bathroom or whatever it was, come on, man! These are people that just showed up because they were having fun, and these are horror.
You could tell that they were having fun making this.
Icons.
This is just a great movie.
Yeah. So that's my least favorite thing is it was supposed to be a series and Showtime punked out.
Yes. So my favorite thing is John Carpenter.
Mine too, so we'll have to go on this together.
Every single aspect of his character, before knowing he's dead, after knowing he's dead, literally every single piece.
He directed the first 2 stories, not the third, but he also did the wraparound.
He's the actor in the wraparound.
Yeah.
And he's perfect in that role. 100%, exactly what it needed to be. Drinking formaldehyde.
Outside of this, I don't know him as an actor. Everybody knows John Carpenter, director, amazing. Anyone who loves horror should
Jack
know that.
of all trades.
Not even just horror. There's some good action stuff that he's done too.
He's the John of all trades.
I mean, we've done plenty of reviews of movies of his here for a reason.
Yeah.
He came up with that traditional theme for Halloween and stuff.
Yeah.
This guy is just good.
He
so,
is.
yeah, John Carpenter is our favorite part of this. As the character he played.
Yes.
More than, the directing was great.
The directing was obviously amazing.
But our favorite part was him and his character and his
acting,
portrayal.
His comedy.
The humor was on point. All right.
So, on a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rate this?
Honestly, I'm probably going 8.5, 9. You know what?
9?
Screw it, 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 9.
Like, it's that good.
It's just really, really good. Like, if the before we reviewed it didn't sell it, go watch this.
Yeah. And then now we got stuff to wrap up with over on
the side of the screen. Yes. You can watch this show on Fact TV on Yes. You can watch this show on channel 1082, Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
And you can also like us on Facebook. And when I say us, I mean Gory Storytime has a page. I got to start putting stuff up there again. It's been so long. And Fact TV has a page.
Yes.
So do both.
Yes. You can go to fact8.com, watch a bunch of back episodes of this, as well as so much.
You can follow us on Twitter, or X, now that it's X. I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase.
I'm at Jiggly Fernbrain. I'm bad at keeping it very
We don't talk about this show, to be fair.
No, definitely not.
But your name is from a horror movie.
That's
all. And then, definitely go to YouTube, type in Gory Storytime. 2 different channels will come up. Fact TV has a channel, and I have a channel. Like, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah. And
maybe one day we'll actually make some money off of this.
Share. All right, and until next time, I've been your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and father, Craig, and
sweet dreams.